In our previous episodes, we have seen how Napoleon returned from his exile at Elba with just 1,000 men. He marched through the dangerous snowy Alpine passes, gaining the support of the troops stationed at Grenoble and Lyon. His rapid advance lured his old marshals to switch sides, and Napoleon made it to Paris, driving the Bourbons away without even firing a shot. This means an inevitable war, and today we are going to cover just that. Lionsberg Cinematic History presents the Battle of Ligny, the last victory. In his sensational return to power, Napoleon had made just one mistake, which was to prove costly. He did not wait until Europe's ministers and sovereigns had dispersed after their conclave in Vienna before crossing from Elba. Consequently, they were all still together when news of Napoleon's return came in. The Congress then went to the limits of international law and beyond by declaring Bonaparte an outlaw. War was declared not on France, but on one man, Napoleon Bonaparte. That's impressive even by modern standards. A new coalition was formed, and the plan was to flood France with a force of more than 500,000 troops. The raw coalition forces included about 100,000 Prussians under Field Marshal Blücher, another roughly 100,000 of Anglo-Dutch German and Brunswickers under the Duke of Wellington and the Prince of Orange, about 200,000 Austrians under Schwarzenberg, another couple of 100,000 Russians under Barclay de Tolly, and 75,000 Austrians on the Riviera. Time was of the essence, and the Emperor knew that. Napoleon tried to buy more time by sending letters of peace to the European monarchs, but by 1815, all of Europe can see right through the Emperor's plan. Napoleon returned to a bankrupt France with no foreign revenue, an empty treasury, and a massive war to finance. To fund his war preparations, he cut naval spending, raised emergency loans, and ordered the sale of state lands and forests. He also launched a national patriotic donation drive, urging citizens and soldiers to contribute money or goods. Despite these efforts, funds remained scarce. Napoleon's campaign relied on credit, improvisation, and the hope that victory would restore France's fortunes. Napoleon had ordered the creation of 8 army corps and appointed his loyal marshal, Louis-Nicolas Davout, as the new war minister. But Davout, although an outstanding commander on the battlefield, was new to the ministry and struggled at his new job. Marshal Berthier's absence was mostly felt, who had held that post since the beginning of Napoleon's meteoric rise, but was found mysteriously dead on the 1st of June, 1815. On the same day itself, deputations gathered in Paris for the Champ de Mai, the state occasion at which Napoleon amended the civil code and presented new eagles to the French army. As coalition forces advanced to the north, Napoleon had to decide his strategy. There were only 2 realistic options: either to preempt the Allies by defeating the Prussian and Anglo-Dutch armies before the Russians and Austrians could join them, or to remain on the defensive as in 1814. Napoleon decided to go for the preemptive strike. Finally, l'Armée du Nord, the Army of the North, was assembled. 89,000 infantry, 22,000 cavalry, 11,000 gunners, and 366 engineers were mobilized to the Belgian front. This comprised of the 1st Corps under Comte d'Erlon, the 2nd Corps under Honoré Charles Rail, the 3rd under Vandamme, the 4th under Gérard, the 6th under Mouton-Lobau, the Reserve Cavalry under Marshal Grouchy, and the Imperial Guard Corps directly under the Emperor. The 5th Corps under Jean Rapp was stationed at Strasbourg, as a part of l'Armée du Rhin. On the 12th of June, Napoleon left Paris in the early hours for the frontier. Napoleon's plan was simple but brilliant: to strike between the two Allied armies and crush each in turn. He chose to attack the Prussians first, knowing that Blücher was bold and impulsive, while Wellington was cautious and deliberate. Napoleon reasoned that Blücher would rush to support Wellington far quicker than Wellington would move to help Blücher. Napoleon thus split his forces into two parts. The first and the second corps were put under the command of Marshal Ney, who was to march towards Quatre Bras and take control of the crossroads. Judging Blücher by his impetuousness, Napoleon correctly anticipated the old general to give battle at Ligny. The 3rd, 4th, and 6th Corps, the Guard Corps and the reserve cavalry under Marshal Grouchy, will follow the Emperor to Fleurus and confront the Prussian army at Ligny and Saint-Amand. Dawn on June 15th, the French Second Corps crossed the border, capturing Lobos and Thuin and securing a bridge over the Sambre River at Marchienne-au-Pont. However, the French advance met stiff resistance at Marcinelle, where Prussian riflemen halted the cavalry's attack. Napoleon, angered by the setback, ordered a renewed assault supported by horse artillery and guard engineers, who soon forced the Prussians to retreat. Napoleon's advance suffered an early setback when General Bourmont, commander of the 14th Division, defected to the Prussians. While pretending to scout ahead, he and several officers rode into enemy lines, revealing vital French plans. The news infuriated his troops, and order was restored only after Comte Gérard personally intervened to calm the men and reaffirm their loyalty. By 11 a.m., Charleroi was in French hands, and the Prussian garrison fell back toward Gilly. Napoleon entered the city to the cheers of soldiers and civilians, established his headquarters, and directed Pajot's cavalry to pursue the enemy. By midday, Marshal Ney arrived and was given command of the left column, with orders to capture Gosselies and continue the advance. By June 1815, Feldmarschall Blücher commanded the Prussian army with General Gneisenau as his chief of staff, the same team that had fought with distinction in 1813 and 1814. Though determined and aggressive, their army faced serious problems. Many troops were inexperienced Landwehr, poorly equipped, and drawn from newly annexed provinces of doubtful loyalty. On June the 15th, Ziethen's 1st Corps beat a fighting retreat from the border and gave time for the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th Corps to march towards Sombreffe and Ligny. The 2nd Corps under Pirch was deployed west of Sombreffe along the highway. It formed the reserve to the 1st Corps. The 3rd Corps under Thielmann was deployed east of Sombreffe. Bülow's 4th Corps was on march from Liège and would not reach Ligny to take part in the battle. The Battlefield of Ligny was on the watershed between the rivers Scheldt and Meuse. The Ligny stream meanders in a northeast direction through the small village of Ligny to the confluence at Sombreffe. To the left of Ligny was the village of Saint-Amand, and to its right were Sombreffe, Tongrenel, Boignet, and Balâtre, respectively. The windmill of Bry on a hill northwest from Ligny was a suitable vantage point, and Blücher made it his headquarters during the battle. Napoleon placed his headquarters in Fleurus, where he also had a good view of the battlefield from the windmill of Navarre. Blücher had 3 army corps under his command, about 84,000 men and 224 guns in total. Ziethen's 1st Corps took up positions along the Ligny brook, fortifying the villages for battle. The villages of Saint-Amand and Ligny formed the core of the line. Steinmetz's and Jargau's brigades held Saint-Amand, while 6 battalions of Henkel's brigade defended Ligny itself. Perche's brigade stood in reserve near the Bossu mill, ready to reinforce where needed. Behind the line, Roeder's reserve cavalry waited in the hollow ground, prepared to charge when the moment came. The western part of Saint-Amand and the nearby village of Wagnelli were less defensible and only lightly garrisoned. The Prussians occupied every hamlet and guarded all 4 bridges along the stream. To the north, the Second Corps under General von Perche I held positions near Bry, along the road leading from Quatre Bras. Their task was to secure communication with the Anglo-Dutch army, whom Blücher expected to join him. Meanwhile, on the Prussian left, the Third Corps under von Thielemann was deployed along the Ligny brook near Sombref, anchoring the southern end of Blücher's position. Earlier that day, at their meeting in Bry, Wellington cautioned Blücher that the Prussian line at Ligny was dangerously overstretched. Still, he assured him that reinforcements would be sent, as long as his own army wasn't attacked. Blücher, however, remained confident in his plan. He was counting on von Bülow's 4th Corps, along with Wellington's support, to strengthen his temporarily exposed positions. For the ease of explanation, we have divided the events of the Battle of Ligny into 3 parts. Vandamme's fight for Saint-Amand on the left, Gérard's fight for Ligny at the center, and Grouchy's cavalry assault to the right. At 2 p.m., General Lefol of the 8th French Infantry Division rallied his men with a cry, "The Prussians will be crushed as at Jena." As the Emperor signaled, the French guns thundered. Bands struck up Le Chant du Départ. Vandamme's First Corps, with Lefol's and Gérard's divisions, advanced toward Saint-Amand and Saint-Amand-la Haye to strike the defending Prussians of von Zieten's First Corps. The Prussians opened fire as Lefol's men pushed through high wheat towards Saint-Amand. Making their way through heavy cannonade and Prussian volleys, and after savage fighting in the orchards and churchyard, the Lefol's division gained control over Saint-Amand. Pushing further beyond the hamlet, Lefol's men came under devastating cannon fire from the ridge and were forced to fall back to the hamlet. Meanwhile, Gérard's division joined the attack from the west. Gérard's division joined the attack from the west, storming Saint-Amand-la-Haye in brutal close combat and drove the 29th Prussian Infantry out of the hamlet. Both villages changed hands repeatedly in the blood-soaked struggle. The Prussian counterattacks were answered by French, and by mid-afternoon, Gérard's division was shattered, losing over half its strength, while Steinmetz's Prussian brigade suffered similar losses. Around 4 p.m., Field Marshal Blücher arrived, shouting, "Forward, in God's name!" Blücher personally led Perche's brigade into a counterattack that briefly retook Saint-Amand, driving Gérard's men off the hamlet.
Our men are running.
Gérard was mortally wounded in the process. French cavalry soon hit the disorganized Prussians, and Perche's men fell back under heavy pressure. Tippelskirch's 5th Brigade then advanced through Vagnelay, recapturing Saint-Amand-la-Haye in a fierce bayonet charge despite confusion and severe losses. Habert's French infantry division was committed to plug the gaps and counterattack the Prussians. Meanwhile, panic erupted in Vandamme's corps when troops mistook approaching soldiers for the Anglo-Dutch troops of Wellington. Immediately, 8 regiments of the Young Guards were sent forward to support Vandamme. The alarm ended only when the enemy proved to be d'Erlon's 1st Corps, but Ney, fighting at Quatre Bras, recalled them. This blunder cost Napoleon the chance to envelop Blücher's flank and annihilate the Prussian army. As evening fell, Vandamme renewed his attack with support from the Young Guard and Guard artillery. French guns and Prussian batteries pounded the burning villages in a deafening duel. Blücher reinforced Seaton's corps with Perche's men, who stormed Saint-Amand again, capturing the church but suffering terrible losses from French fire. Cavalry clashes raged west of the village, with Uhlans, dragoons, and Landwehr horse fighting the French to a standstill. Gradually, the Prussians regained ground. Brause's and Tippelskirch's brigades counterattacked, driving Vandamme's exhausted divisions from Saint-Amand and Saint-Amand-la-Haye in savage street fighting. General Lefol narrowly escaped capture, and General Gérard was mortally wounded, later honored by Napoleon as the Duc de Ligny. Saint-Amand was supposed to be the center of French assault, but it turned into a stalemate thanks to the miscommunication with d'Erlon's corps. As darkness enveloped, the battle between Vandamme and Ziethen became limited to artillery and skirmish combat. Parts of Saint-Amand remained in Prussian hands until the total French occupation of Ligny to the center. The village of Ligny was defended by 6 battalions of Henkel's 4th Prussian Brigade, supported by Schützen riflemen and Landwehr militia. The defenders fortified the village, barricading doors, removing windows, and occupying walls and hedges. 6 more battalions from Jargeau's 3rd Brigade held positions between Ligny and the Bois de Loup wood, while 16 to 24 Prussian guns covered the high ground behind the village. The attack on Ligny fell to General Etienne Maurice Gérard's 4th French Corps, veteran troops and reinforced by artillery from the Imperial Guard. Gérard, a seasoned commander of Austerlitz, Wagram, and Borodino fame, led Péchot's and Vichery's divisions, about 9,000 men, against roughly the same number of Prussians supported by 24 guns. General Etienne Maurice Gérard is not to be confused with General Jean-Baptiste Gérard, who was the commanding officer of the 7th Infantry Division under Vandamme. Around 3 p.m., after a fierce artillery bombardment that set many houses ablaze, Gérard's infantry advanced in 3 columns, 2 toward the village and 1 toward the chateau to the south. The French crossed open ground under heavy Prussian musket fire. The fighting quickly became brutal. Soldiers clambered over walls and fences, firing at point-blank range. The 30th Line Infantry lost 700 men in minutes. Prussian counterattacks momentarily threw the French back, but Gérard's artillery and fresh reinforcements pushed them forward again. Soon, French troops gained a foothold inside Ligny, turning gardens and courtyards into killing grounds. Major von Bünau's battalion of the 19th Prussian Infantry fought fiercely in the streets and fields, repelling multiple French assaults with disciplined volleys and bayonet charges. At the churchyard, the struggle grew desperate. French battalions stormed the walls, supported by 2 guns firing at close range. The Prussians fell back but counterattacked fiercely, retaking the cemetery and even capturing 2 French guns. Gérard's men regrouped and assaulted again, retaking the position in savage hand-to-hand combat. Bayonets, musket butts, and even fists were used as both sides fought to exhaustion. Meanwhile, Jagau's 3rd Prussian Brigade advanced into Ligny to relieve Henkel's worn-out troops. His battalions briefly recaptured the church, but 2 French battalions counterattacked and drove them out once more. Around the burning church, the struggle continued amid thick smoke and falling debris. At around 4 p.m., the nearby chateau was also under attack. French sappers tried to smash the gates while artillery bombarded the walls at point-blank range. Fires spread rapidly, forcing the Prussian defenders to leap from the windows as Gérard's men surrounded the flaming building. By late afternoon, 2 fresh Prussian brigades, Kraft's 6th and Beauce's 8th, were thrown into the fight to retake the village. The French artillery roared as new Prussian battalions crossed the stream again and again, only to be driven back each time. The entire village was now an inferno, packed with soldiers locked in hand-to-hand struggle, streets choked with dead and wounded. As evening approached, the Prussians briefly gained the upper hand, pushing Gérard's weary men out of parts of the village. But the fire in the village was unbearable, and many Prussian battalions fell back to the adjacent woods, weakening the defense of the village. All it needed was one great push, and Ligny would fall in the French hands. But to continue his attacks on the hamlet, Gérard needed reinforcements. So the stage was set for Napoleon's final, decisive assault later that evening. As dusk fell, the battle between Marshal Grouchy and General Thielemann erupted. Napoleon had dispatched Marshal Emmanuel Grouchy, an experienced but cautious commander, to secure the French right flank. His force, 1 infantry and 5 cavalry divisions, was meant to prevent a Prussian counterattack. Though lacking heavy artillery, it was a formidable mix of Gérard's infantry and the cavalry corps of Payol and Excelmans, including dragoons and light horsemen. Facing him stood Thielemann's 3rd Prussian Corps, supported by Colonel Karl von Clausewitz as Chief of Staff. Thielemann, a veteran Saxon general who had fought at Borodino and Leipzig, commanded mainly infantry, 27 battalions, most of them Landwehr militia, composed of older, less trained men. His cavalry, under General Hobe, was scattered, with detachments posted far across the field. The clash began between 4 and 6 p.m., when Hulot's French infantry attacked the Prussian positions at Tongren and Sombrefi. French light troops, skilled skirmishers known for agility and precision, harassed the Prussian lines, firing from flanks and disappearing into the twilight. The Prussians counterattacked with bayonets, but struggled to pin them down. Artillery duels thundered across the field as Thielemann's men, reinforced with heavy guns, held firm. Meanwhile, Grouchy's cavalry, mostly green-coated dragoons under Excelmans and Pajol, charged against the Prussian infantry squares, achieved little. Prussian dragoons countered fiercely but were outnumbered. Near Boigny, 2 squadrons were overwhelmed, and their battery was seized. By nightfall, both sides were exhausted. Queen Marshal Grouchy had failed to break through, and Thielemann, despite his weaker militia, had contained the French advance. It was a minor engagement compared to the greater struggle raging at Ligny, but vital nonetheless. Thielemann's stubborn defense fixed Grouchy's corps, ensuring that neither could aid their commanders at the decisive battles to come. A thunderstorm rolled in with the evening darkness as Napoleon readied his Imperial Guards to deliver the decisive strike against the Prussian center. Lobau's 6th Corps was summoned from Charleroi earlier, and the young guard withdrawn from Vandamme, prompting Blücher to believe he had won. At 7:45 p.m., 10 battalions of the Old Guard advanced in 2 massive columns, grenadiers and chasseurs, the elite of France. Drums beat beneath the storm as artillery thundered from the mound of Tombe de Ligny, pounding the Prussian positions. Behind them marched Gérard's 4th Corps, followed by Milhaud's cuirassiers and the Guard's heavy cavalry. The Guard stormed into Ligny, sweeping all resistance aside with the bayonet. The Guard pushed beyond the village toward Bry Windmill. The 5th and 9th cuirassiers smashed through Prussian lines, seizing guns and scattering defenders, where Prussian infantry and Landwehr cavalry were shattered in close combat. Desperate to save his army, Blücher personally led a last cavalry charge, shouting, "In the devil's name, attack then!" His Uhlans and dragoons hurled themselves at the French Guard, but were cut down by musket fire and countercharges. Blücher's horse was shot beneath him, trapping him as French cavalry thundered past, unaware of the fallen commander. The Prussian center was broken. With Field Marshal Blücher injured and removed from the battlefield, command passed to Graf von Gneisenau and General von Grollmann. Fearing total encirclement by the French forces, Gneisenau ordered a retreat toward Tilly, 2 miles north of Bry. Many central battalions had become separated, making coordinated movement difficult. However, at Saint-Amand-la-Haye and Vagnelay, the Prussians retreated in good order. After the French occupied Ligny and Saint-Amand, Napoleon hesitated to push further in darkness. The Prussian skirmishers and light cavalry screened the Prussian movements, and the French were confident of a battle the next day. However, in the veil of darkness, the Prussian army retreated successfully to Tilly and Gembloux. This escape would have tremendous outcome in the later events of the campaign. Although the French were unaware, the Battle of Ligny was over, leaving about 12,000 French dead and over 16,000 Prussians dead. Napoleon, victorious but cautious, spent the night at Fleurus. Blücher regrouped at Tilly, defeated but unbroken. As the Emperor tried his might to push the Prussians away, Marshal Ney was busy fighting the Dutch and Nassau troops under the Prince of Orange at Quatre Bras. The outcome of this major engagement is of paramount importance for the fate of the Waterloo campaign. We shall cover this in our next episode. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Lionsberg Cinematic History to inspire me to make more content like this. Thank you for watching. Have a great time.